The floating city of Karthos never slept. Silver towers stretched into the clouds, glowing with alien light. Ships moved silently between platforms. Patrol drones hovered like metal birds, scanning every movement below. And right now, every scanner was locked onto one human. Elias was running. His boots slammed against the metal walkway as crowds jumped aside. Alien merchants, armored guards, travelers from distant worlds, all stared in shock. Humans were rare in Karthos. Humans running from authority were even rarer. But Elias did not look afraid. His breathing was steady. His eyes kept moving, checking the skyline, the shadows, the flickering lights above. He wasn't running blindly. He was following a path only he seemed to understand. Behind him, warning sirens began to howl. A voice thundered through the air. "Stop the human!" The crowd froze. No one disobeyed that voice. A ripple of blue energy flashed ahead of Elias. Space itself folded like paper. From that glowing tier stepped Commander Varex. Her armor shimmered like liquid steel. Symbols of rank glowed across her chest. She stood taller than anyone around her, her presence alone pressing silence into the air. Elias skidded to a stop. The walkway trembled as Varex walked toward him. Every step was slow, controlled, powerful. "You run again," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "Why?" The crowd held its breath. Alien citizens lowered their eyes. Even the patrol drones kept their distance. Elias looked at her and didn't answer. Instead, he glanced past her shoulder, up toward the sky. Varex followed his gaze. She saw nothing but clouds and the distant glow of orbiting stations. Her eyes narrowed. "I am speaking to you, human," she said. A faint gravity field hummed around her hand. Elias's coat fluttered as invisible force tightened around him. Still, his attention stayed fixed on the skyline. The city lights flickered. Just once. Then again. The crowd murmured. Karthos' power grid never failed. Not even for a second. Varex felt it too, a vibration under her boots. So small most wouldn't notice. But she did. Elias finally spoke. "I'm not running from you," he said quietly. His voice was steady, almost calm. "I'm running from what's coming." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the sky darkened. Not like a storm. Not like nightfall. It was as if a piece of reality had been erased. A shadow spread across the clouds, not moving like a ship, not shaped like anything familiar. It was wrong. The eyes struggled to focus on it. The city alarms exploded to life. Emergency lights bathed the streets in red. Patrol drones jerked wildly, their signals scrambling. Alien citizens began shouting. Some pointed upward. Others tried to flee, but no one knew where to go. Varex's armor flared as her systems fought to reconnect. Her command link was dead. Impossible. Karthos had survived wars, supernovas, and dimensional storms. Nothing shut down its systems. Except this. The shadow above pulsed. Every light in the city dimmed. Elias's expression hardened. "It's early," he muttered. Varex grabbed him, lifting him slightly with her gravity field. "Explain," she demanded. For the first time, her voice carried tension. Elias met her eyes. There was no fear there, only urgency. "You can't fight it," he said. "You can't scan it. And if we stay here arguing..." The metal beneath them groaned. A deep sound rolled through the city. Not loud, but heavy. Like reality itself was under pressure. The crowd panicked. Some fell to their knees. Others screamed as the shadow shifted, swallowing more sky. Ships above flickered and vanished, not exploding, not crashing. Just gone. Varex released Elias without realizing she had done it. Her breath caught. She had fought monsters across star systems. She had stood against fleets that could crack moons. Nothing had ever made her feel small. Elias turned to run again. Varex didn't stop him this time. "Wait," she called. He paused just long enough to look back. "You knew this would happen," she said. It wasn't a question. Elias nodded once. "We've seen it before," he replied. Another tremor shook the walkway. The shadow pulsed again, closer now. The air felt heavy, like a storm about to break. Alien citizens looked to Varex, waiting for orders she didn't have. For the first time in her command, she was standing in the dark. And the only person moving with purpose was the human. "Where are you going?" she demanded. Elias adjusted the small device strapped to his wrist. Its screen flickered with strange symbols. "To give it a reason to leave," he said. The shadow above rippled. The city lights dimmed to a faint glow. Elias took one last look at the sky, then started running again. This time, Varex followed. And all around them, the floating city of Karthos began to fall silent. As if the universe itself was holding its breath. Commander Varex ran beside Elias through the shaking streets of Karthos. The floating city no longer looked powerful. Emergency lights flashed red across silver towers. Drones fell from the sky like broken birds. Citizens pressed against walls, unsure where safety even existed anymore. Above them, the shadow grew. It did not move like a ship. It did not roar like a weapon. It simply spread, silent and wrong. Wherever it passed, lights faded and signals died. Varex activated her wrist console again. Static answered her. Nothing worked. She looked at Elias. "You knew this was coming," she said, breath steady but tense. "Tell me what it is." Elias didn't slow down. "We call it a void predator," he replied. "It hunts advanced civilizations." Varex frowned. "A weapon?" "No," Elias said. "Worse. Its absence. It erases energy. Ships. Cities. Sometimes entire worlds. No explosion. No remains. Just gone." As if to prove his words, a distant platform flickered in the sky. Then vanished. No sound. No debris. It simply stopped existing. Varex felt her chest tighten. "That's impossible," she said. Elias shook his head. "Human science said the same thing, the first time we saw it." They turned into a narrow transit corridor. The walls vibrated as people rushed past them. Some aliens were crying. Others clutched children, looking upward in helpless fear. "Where is your fleet?" Elias asked. Varex's jaw tightened. "Attempting orbital defense." A bright flash lit the sky. Alien warships fired beams of pure energy into the shadow. The attacks disappeared inside it. No reaction. No damage. The shadow pulsed again. Half the fleet vanished. Varex slowed. Her eyes widened as her command instincts screamed in denial. That's our strongest division." Elias grabbed her arm. "Keep moving," he said. "Standing still is how civilizations die." She pulled free, anger flashing. "You speak like this has happened before." Elias met her gaze. "It has." They entered an open plaza. The sky above looked torn, like reality itself was thin. Citizens gathered in confused clusters, staring upward. Elias moved toward a tall signal tower in the center. "What are you doing?" Varex demanded. "Finishing what I started," he replied. He pulled a small device from his jacket, a dull metal cylinder covered in scratches. It looked simple compared to alien technology. He knelt and attached it to the tower. The device hummed softly. Varex stepped closer. "Explain." "Now." Elias stood. "When humans first found the predator, we tried to fight it," he said. "Every weapon failed. So we changed our thinking." Varex crossed her arms. "And? We studied its behavior. It follows energy patterns. It hunts growth, noise, power, civilization." The tower lights flickered as Elias's device activated. "So you're baiting it," Varex said slowly. Elias nodded. "I've been planting these markers across the city while I was running," he explained. "They create a trail, a path leading away from population centers." Varex looked around. "You were evacuating civilians without telling anyone." "Panic spreads faster than predators," Elias replied calmly. The shadow shifted overhead. Its movement changed. Tilted, almost curious. Varex felt the air grow heavy. "It's following your signal," she whispered. "Yes," Elias said. The plaza lights brightened suddenly as the beacon pulsed. For a moment, The shadow focused entirely on that glow. Citizens nearby stepped back, sensing danger without understanding it. Varex opened a public channel, her voice cutting through the chaos. All civilians, move away from the central plaza immediately. This time, her command worked. The crowd scattered. The shadow descended slightly. Reality warped around the tower. The air rippled like heat over sand. Elias checked his wrist device. Strange symbols scrolled rapidly. Good, he muttered. It's locking on. Varex stared at him. You're guiding a cosmic predator like it's an animal, she said. Elias gave a small, humorless smile. Humans learned a long time ago, he said. You don't always defeat monsters, sometimes you redirect them. The ground trembled violently. The beacon flared with bright white light. The shadow reacted. It lunged, not physically but conceptually. Space folded toward the tower. The plaza edges cracked like glass. Varex grabbed Elias. That thing will erase this entire district. Not if we move, Elias said quickly. This beacon is Phase 1. Phase 1, she demanded. Elias looked toward the distant edge of the city, where an abandoned gravity well station hung like a broken ring. We lead it there, he said. That's where we trap it. Another tremor rocked the plaza. The tower began dissolving into shimmering fragments. The predator was feeding. Varex felt fear crawl up her spine, not for herself, but for her city, for her people. She looked at Elias. The human stood steady in the chaos, eyes sharp, already planning 3 steps ahead. You saw this coming, she said quietly. Elias nodded. And you came anyway. He shrugged. Someone had to make sure this city survived long enough to listen. The tower collapsed into nothing. The shadow shifted again, now focused on Elias's device. He took a breath. Time to run, he said. This time, Varex didn't question him. They ran together as the predator followed. And above them, the impossible hunter changed direction, chasing a single human plan. Elias and Commander Varex ran across the outer platforms of Karthos, the city trembling beneath their feet. Behind them, the shadow followed. It did not chase like a creature. It flowed, silent and patient. Wherever its edge touched, lights vanished and metal structures dissolved into empty air. The beacon on Elias's wrist pulsed bright white. Each pulse pulled the predator's attention, like a flare in deep space. Varex glanced back and felt her stomach tighten. It's getting closer, she warned. I know, Elias replied. His voice stayed calm, but his pace increased. We're almost there. Ahead of them hung the abandoned gravity well station, a massive ring structure floating beyond the city's edge. Its surface was scarred and dark, unused for years after a reactor failure. Perfect for a trap. They crossed the final bridge just as the city alarms died completely. Silence fell, heavy and unnatural. Varex opened a private channel to the city. All defense units retreat, she ordered. Clear the outer sectors immediately. Static answered. The predator was choking every signal. Elias stopped at the station entrance. The old metal doors were sealed. He slammed his wrist device against the control panel. The doors flickered, then groaned open. You've been here before, Varex said. Elias nodded. Humans scouted your system months ago. We hoped we'd never need this place. They stepped inside. The air was cold. Emergency lights flickered weakly, revealing a massive chamber filled with suspended machinery. At the center floated a gravity core, dark, cracked, but still alive. The floor vibrated. The predator was approaching the station. Varex moved to a console, her hands flying over alien symbols. The core is unstable, she said. If we activate it, the collapse radius. We'll pull the predator inside, Elias finished. And everything nearby, she added sharply. Elias met her eyes. That's the idea. Varex stared at him. You're talking about tearing space open. Just enough, Elias said. We don't kill it. We trap it in a gravity loop where it can't feed. Another tremor shook the station. The shadow pressed against the outer hull. Metal peeled away silently. Varex hesitated. If this failed, the station, and possibly half the city, would vanish. She looked at Elias. He was already moving, connecting his device to the gravity core. His hands were steady. "You plan to do this alone," she said. Elias didn't look up. "Yes." "Why?" "Because someone had to stay close enough to trigger the collapse." Varex's jaw tightened. "That someone doesn't have to be you." Elias paused. Then he smiled faintly. "Humans are good at running toward bad ideas," he said. The station groaned again. The Predator's shadow seeped through cracks in reality itself. The air rippled, heavy and distorted. Time was running out. Varex stepped beside him. "Tell me what to do." Elias blinked. "You trust me?" She looked toward the spreading darkness. "You were right," she said simply. "That's enough." Together they worked. Elias calibrated the beacon frequency. Varex rerouted power into the damaged core. Sparks flew. Warning lights screamed. The shadow breached the chamber ceiling. Reality bent inward. The Predator focused entirely on the glowing beacon. "Now!" Elias shouted. Varex slammed her hand onto the activation panel. The gravity core ignited. A deep hum filled the chamber, low and powerful. Space twisted around the core, forming a spinning well of distorted light. The Predator reacted. For the first time, it resisted. The shadow thrashed, warping the air. The chamber walls cracked as forces collided. Elias held his ground, forcing the beacon output higher. "Come on," he muttered. The gravity well expanded. The shadow stretched thin, pulled toward the collapsing center. The station shook violently. Varex grabbed Elias's arm. "We have to go." "Not yet," he shouted. "It's still fighting." The Predator lunged, almost reaching them. Elias slammed the beacon to maximum. The gravity well roared. The shadow snapped inward, dragged screaming through silent space. Everything collapsed into a single point of light. Silence. The gravity core dimmed. The chamber stabilized. The Predator was gone. Elias exhaled slowly. His knees nearly gave out. Varex steadied him. "Is it over?" she asked. Elias checked his device. The screen glowed green. "For now," he said. "It's trapped. No energy. No growth. Just stuck." Varex looked around the damaged chamber. The station held, barely. Outside, the sky cleared. The city lights flickered back to life. Karthos was safe. They stepped onto the platform. Citizens stared upward in disbelief. Ships cautiously resumed movement. The nightmare had ended. Alien defense forces landed nearby, weapons ready, then slowly lowered them when they saw Varex and the humans standing together. A hush spread through the crowd. Varex turned to Elias. "You weren't running," she said quietly. Elias shook his head. "I was making sure everyone else didn't have to." For a moment, the proud commander of Karthos simply looked at him. Then she raised her fist to her chest, a warrior's salute rarely given outside her species. The crowd followed. Thousands saluted a human. Elias scratched the back of his neck, embarrassed. "Guess I can stop running now," he said. Varex allowed a small smile. "For today," she replied. Above them, the sky was clear. And for the first time since the chase began, the city breathed. Subscribe if you want to see how a chained gift becomes a chosen bond.